Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Aliens beware, humans are the ultimate predators. You can't escape. The massive chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with nervous energy. Representatives from over 200 spacefaring civilizations gathered in the enormous circular hall. Many had traveled for weeks to attend this emergency session. The central platform remained empty, awaiting the arrival of the High Counselor. "What's this about?" Asrez, a reptilian diplomat from the Outer Rim, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light from above, asked. His companion, a crystalline being named Helix, vibrated slightly in response. "They found another intelligent species. Apparently this one is concerning." Before they could continue, the hall lights dimmed. A tall, willowy figure glided to the central platform. High Counselor V, with her 6 elongated limbs and iridescent skin, commanded immediate silence. "Esteemed representatives," she began, her voice echoing through the chamber, "we have called this emergency session to discuss a newly discovered species from the third planet of a yellow star in the Orion spiral. They call themselves humans." A holographic image appeared above her, a blue and green world with swirling white clouds. "While their technology is primitive by our standards, our observers have documented behaviors that warrant extreme caution. The Council recommends classifying them as a protected species under the non-interference protocols." Murmurs spread across the chamber. Protected status was rare. A large figure rose from the Verax section. Admiral Krant, military commander of the expanding Verax Imperium, his armored exoskeleton clicked as he stood. "High Counselor, with respect, what possible threat could a pre-FTL species pose to any advanced civilization?" V gestured to her right, where an ancient being moved forward. Elder MCK belonged to one of the first species to achieve space travel. His kind had observed countless civilizations rise and fall over millennia. "The humans possess a trait we have rarely encountered," MCK said, his voice raspy with age. "When threatened, they do not surrender. When defeated, they do not accept. They wait, they plan, they remember." The elder tapped a control, and the hologram shifted to show scenes from history. Small bands of fighters defeating larger forces, resistance movements surviving against overwhelming odds, isolated groups enduring extreme conditions. Unlike most species, humans can sustain conflict across generations. They pass their grievances to their children and their children's children. We have observed human descendants avenging wrongs committed against ancestors they never met. Admiral Krant laughed, the sound harsh and metallic through his translator. "Primitive tribal behaviors, nothing that advanced weaponry cannot overcome." "There is more," V continued. "Humans adapt with exceptional speed. Their scientific development has accelerated dramatically in just the past century. Their minds seem uniquely suited to warfare, capable of turning almost anything into a weapon." The hologram displayed human history from stone tools to nuclear weapons, a progression that had taken other species 5 times as long to develop. Coral, a senior Verax diplomat sitting behind Admiral Krant, leaned forward with interest. Unlike most of his kind, he had specialized in xenopsychology. Something about these humans triggered his professional curiosity. "High Counselor," Krant interrupted, "the Verax have conquered 17 systems. We have faced hive minds, silicon-based life forms, and even energy beings. Each fell before our might. These humans would be no different." "That attitude," Elder MCK said quietly, "is precisely what makes them dangerous. They appear weak until they are not. By the time you realize your mistake, they have already begun their response." The chamber erupted in debate. Many of the older civilizations supported protected status, while expanding empires like the Verax argued against unnecessary restrictions. Coral watched as Krant grew increasingly dismissive. The Admiral was ambitious, always seeking new conquests to advance his standing with Emperor Draz. Humans would be an easy victory in Krant's mind, primitives unable to defend against Verax's technology. After hours of debate, V called for order. "The Council's recommendation stands. Earth is to be classified as protected, with no interference permitted. Our analysis suggests humans will achieve FTL capability within 100 years. We will welcome them properly when they reach the stars on their own terms. As the session ended, Coral approached a data terminal and downloaded all available information on humans. Something about Elder MCK's warning resonated with him. Between official meetings, he studied the files with growing concern. The humans were fractious and divided yet capable of astonishing unity when threatened. Their history was soaked in blood, but also marked by incredible acts of mercy. They created art of breathtaking beauty, then used the same creativity to design more efficient weapons. Most disturbing was their response to aggression. Unlike rational species that calculated the costs of continued resistance, humans often fought hardest when victory seemed impossible. 3 cycles later, Coral stood at attention in the Emperor's chamber aboard the Imperial flagship. Admiral Krant was presenting his plan for what he called the Earth demonstration. "Great Emperor," Krant said, his exoskeleton polished to a high shine, "this backwater world provides the perfect opportunity to remind the Council of Verax's supremacy. Their protected designation is meaningless without enforcement." Emperor Draz, his armor more elaborate than any other Verax, clicked his primary mandibles thoughtfully. "And the Council's warnings." "Exaggerations, my Emperor. Our intelligence shows humans are divided into nearly 200 political entities with incompatible weapon systems and limited space capability. They have never faced a united external threat." Coral stepped forward, breaking protocol. "My Emperor, if I may, the Council's concerns about human psychology warrant further study before." "Are you suggesting the Verax should fear primitives who have barely reached their own moon?" Krant cut in, his secondary arms twitching in irritation. Emperor Draz raised one massive claw, silencing them both. For long moments, he studied the holographic displays showing Earth's defenses, population centers, and resource distribution. "A simple conquest," he finally declared. "Show these humans our power, establish control of their planet, exploit their resources. The Council will protest, then accept the new reality as they always do." Coral felt a chill run through his body. "The conquest parameters, my Emperor." "Standard procedure. Demonstration strikes on major population centers, followed by landing our forces at strategic points. Admiral Krant expects complete planetary submission within 1 standard cycle." Krant clicked in satisfaction. "We depart immediately, my Emperor. 30 vessels should be more than sufficient." As they left the chamber, Coral reviewed everything he had learned about humans. One historical quote kept repeating in his mind from a human military leader: "You may have to fight a battle more than once to win it." The Verax had never needed to fight any species twice. Their technological superiority had always guaranteed victory. But as the massive Verax fleet began its journey toward Earth, Coral couldn't shake the feeling that they were making a terrible mistake. The Council's warning echoed in his mind. "Do not attack the humans. They will hunt you forever." No one was listening. The enormous Verax warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their obsidian hulls absorbing the sunlight rather than reflecting it. 30 vessels, each nearly 2 miles long, positioned themselves in strategic positions around Earth. For 18 minutes, they remained silent, allowing human detection systems to register their presence. On Earth, chaos erupted. Emergency sirens wailed across cities worldwide. Military forces scrambled fighter jets that seemed absurdly small against the alien vessels. World leaders were rushed to secure locations. Civilians flooded the streets, some fleeing, others standing in awe, phones raised to capture humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial life. In the White House Situation Room, President Howard gripped the edge of the table. "What are our options?" General Mason, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, shook his head grimly. "Limited, Mr. President. Our most advanced weapons might as well be spitballs against those ships." "The UN Security Council is meeting in emergency session," the Secretary of State reported. "Russia and China are moving to high alert. Everyone's waiting to see what these visitors want." Answer came moments later. Every screen, phone, and display device on Earth simultaneously showed the same image, a Verax in full battle armor. "People of Earth," the translation appeared as text below the alien face. "I am Admiral Krant of the Verax Imperium. Your planet now falls under our protection and authority. Resistance will be met with appropriate correction. Compliance will be rewarded. You have 1 hour to inform your leaders to surrender." President Howard's face hardened. Get a direct line to whatever passes for a diplomat on those ships in orbit. Coral received the communication request. "Admiral, the humans wish to establish dialogue." Krant clicked his mandibles in amusement. "As expected, allow it." Coral opened the channel, watching as a human leader appeared on screen. The being looked fragile, with no natural armor or weaponry visible. "This is President Howard of the United States. We request peaceful discussion before any further action. We can arrange for UN representatives to—" "Your time is better spent preparing your surrender," Krant interrupted. "We have studied your world. You have nothing capable of harming our vessels." "We don't seek conflict," Howard responded, "but we will defend ourselves if attacked." Krant turned to Coral. "They truly don't understand their situation. Initiate demonstration strikes in exactly 50 minutes. Target military installations first, then government centers." After the transmission ended, Coral approached Krant privately. "Admiral, the Council specifically warned against engagement with humans. Perhaps we should." "The Council fears these primitives for no reason," Krant dismissed. "After today, they will see the folly of their caution." At a U.S. Air Force base in Nevada, Commander Jack Miller watched the massive ships on radar. A decorated pilot with 15 years of combat experience, he had been quickly reassigned to lead a special response unit. "Sir, we've got orders to launch everything we have," his communications officer reported. Miller shook his head. "Those ships will swat our fighters like flies." He studied the tactical display, an idea forming. "Tell the squadron to hold position. I need to make a call." Minutes later, he was connected to Dr. Alyssa Thompson at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. "Doctor, I need to know if there's any pattern to the alien ship's energy signatures." "Actually, yes," she replied, excitement in her voice despite the circumstances. "They're emitting regular pulses across multiple frequencies. We think it's their communication system, if we match those frequencies with our own transmissions. Potentially create interference or worse," he said. "I'm sending you the data now." Miller turned to his team. "New plan, we're not going to fight them head-on, we're going to give them a headache." Exactly 50 minutes after their ultimatum, the Verax ships positioned themselves over Washington, D.C., Moscow, Beijing, and other capital cities. Their weapon systems hummed to life, glowing with ominous blue energy. Krant stood on the command deck, secondary arms folded in satisfaction. "Begin primary demonstration strikes." The first shots never fired. Instead, a barrage of missiles launched from bases around the world, not aimed directly at the Verax ships. They were programmed to detonate in the space around them, releasing electromagnetic pulses calibrated to match the exact frequencies of Verax communications. On Krant's ship, systems flickered. Ship-to-ship coordination failed. Targeting computers reset. "What is happening?" Krant demanded, his exoskeleton clicking in agitation. Coral checked the diagnostic systems. "The humans have somehow disrupted our network. They're using our own communication frequencies against us." "Impossible. They couldn't have analyzed and responded so quickly." But the evidence was clear. While the disruption wouldn't last long, it had created just enough confusion to delay the attack. In that brief window, Commander Miller led 3 squadrons of fighters in a daring maneuver. Rather than attacking directly, they executed a complex pattern that further scrambled Verax sensors, creating the impression of a much larger force. "Admiral, we're detecting hundreds of small craft approaching," a tactical officer reported. Krant hissed in frustration. "Destroy them all." The Verax weapons finally fired, but with targeting systems compromised, many shots went wide. Earth's fighters weaved through the barrage, some inevitably falling to the superior firepower, but others getting close enough to launch specialized warheads directly at the ship's sensor arrays. One Verax destroyer, its systems more affected than others, drifted out of formation. Miller directed his remaining fighters toward it, concentrating fire on what appeared to be external cooling systems. The destroyer's hull began to glow red in sections. Internal explosions followed. On the command ship, Krant watched in disbelief as one of his vessels listed to the side, trailing debris. "Impossible," he whispered. Coral felt a chill of validation. "The Council warned us, Admiral." Krant spun on him, rage evident in his posture. "This changes nothing. Begin planetary bombardment immediately. All ships, all targets." The next hours brought devastation to Earth. Verax's weapons carved destruction across major cities. Millions died in the initial assault, yet human resistance continued, adapting with surprising speed. In underground bunkers and hastily established command centers, humanity's leaders gathered. Ancient enemies set aside differences in the face of extinction. "We need time," Dr. Thompson explained to a room of military commanders from a dozen nations. "I've analyzed the wreckage from the damaged ship. Their technology has vulnerabilities we can exploit, but I need more data." Commander Miller, his flight suit still singed from his narrow escape, stepped forward. "Then we'll get you that data, Doctor. We hit them once. We can hit them again." A Russian general nodded grimly. "We have submarines positioning beneath their landing forces. Chinese hackers are already probing their systems." "They expected us to surrender," President Howard said, looking at the maps showing Verax's landing zones. "They don't understand what they've started." As night fell over a world forever changed, resistance cells began to form. Ordinary people became soldiers. Scientists became weapons designers. The Verax had calculated that humans would break under the first show of force. They had calculated wrong. In orbit, Coral reviewed the day's reports with growing concern. The humans had lost millions, but they had damaged a Verax destroyer, something no species had managed during first contact. More worryingly, they showed no signs of surrender. Instead, they were adapting, learning, organizing. The Council's warning replayed in his mind. "They will hunt you forever." The hunt had only just begun. 6 months into the occupation of Earth, Admiral Krant paced the command deck of his flagship, his armored exoskeleton clicking with each agitated step. The holographic displays surrounding him showed a planet that refused to submit. "Another supply convoy lost," he demanded, mandibles clicking in fury. The tactical officer's posture conveyed clear discomfort. "Yes, Admiral, ambushed in the region they call Montana. That makes 17 convoys this month alone." Krant slammed a clawed appendage against the console. What should have been a simple conquest had become a grinding war of attrition. The humans employed tactics that defied conventional military logic. They struck from shadows, vanished into wilderness, and operated in small cells that proved maddeningly difficult to track. "Where is Commander Zell?" Krant demanded. "His patrol was due back 6 hours ago," another officer reported. "We've lost contact." Coral observed silently from his station. The diplomatic officer had been reassigned to intelligence analysis after his earlier warnings proved disturbingly accurate. He'd spent months studying human resistance patterns, finding an ingenuity that both impressed and terrified him. "Admiral," Coral said carefully, "perhaps we should consider a strategic withdrawal to orbital positions. The ground war is consuming resources at an unsustainable rate." Krant's head swiveled toward him. "Withdraw and admit to Emperor Draz that primitives armed with chemical propellant weapons have forced the mighty Verax to retreat." "The humans aren't fighting conventionally," Coral explained. "They've adapted their tactics specifically to our weaknesses. They target our communication relays, avoid direct confrontation, and strike only when they have advantage." Before Krant could respond, the ship's alarms blared. The main screen showed a Verax patrol vessel sending emergency signals before abruptly going silent. "Location," Krant demanded. "Near their Arctic Circle. It's the 3rd outpost to go dark this week." In an abandoned mine shaft beneath the Canadian Rockies, Commander Jack Miller watched as his team unloaded equipment from the captured Verax scout ship. The vessel was smaller than their capital ships, but still packed with technology centuries beyond human development. "Careful with that power core," he warned. "Dr. Thompson needs it intact." Past 6 months had transformed Miller from fighter pilot to resistance leader. A jagged scar ran from his left eye to his jaw, a souvenir from a close encounter with a Verax patrol. His once pristine uniform had been replaced by practical combat gear cobbled together from military supplies and civilian clothing. Lisa Chen, his second-in-command and former Navy SEAL, secured the ship's weapon systems. "Think the doc can make sense of this stuff?" Miller nodded. "If anyone can, it's Thompson. She's already reverse-engineered 3 of their communication devices." The scout ship had been captured through a combination of ingenuity and desperation. Miller's team had studied Verax patrol patterns, identified a vessel with minimal crew, then used reprogrammed Verax communication devices to send false orders, luring the ship into a trap. When it landed to investigate a fake distress signal, electromagnetic pulse charges disabled its systems long enough for Miller's team to storm aboard. The 4 Verax crew members fought fiercely, but fell to concentrated gunfire targeting the joints in their exoskeletons, a weakness discovered through bitter experience. "Get this ship hidden deeper in the mine," Miller ordered. "We move it to the research facility tonight." 500 miles south, in the remains of a university physics lab, Dr. Alyssa Thompson hadn't slept in nearly 48 hours. Her workspace was cluttered with dismantled alien technology, handwritten equations, and empty coffee cups. Once a respected NASA scientist, Thompson now led Earth's most critical research division, Verax Tech Adaptation. Her team had grown from a handful of colleagues to hundreds of scientists working in hidden facilities around the globe, all sharing data through secure channels developed after the Verax destroyed conventional communications infrastructure. "I think I've got it," she announced, adjusting a final connection in the device before her. Her assistant, Dr. Patel, looked up from his workstation. "The communication interceptor." Thompson nodded, pushing her graying hair back from her face. "The Verax use quantum entanglement for their ship-to-ship communications, completely secure, or so they thought. But there's a secondary system they use for ground forces that operates on principles similar to our own radio waves, just far more advanced." She activated the device. Immediately, the lab speakers filled with the clicking, hissing language of the Verax, translated moments later by an algorithm her team had developed. "Patrol 739, proceed to Sector 4. Resistance activity reported near Human Settlement, Denver." Thompson allowed herself a rare smile. "We can now intercept every order they send to ground forces, and if we can intercept, we can send false orders," Patel finished, eyes widening with the implications. "Exactly. Get Miller on the secure line. The Resistance just got a new weapon." On the Verax command ship, Coral received an encrypted transmission from the Galactic Council. He had maintained secret communication with Council contacts, violating direct orders from Emperor Draz. Such actions would be considered treason, but Coral had begun to believe the Verax campaign on Earth was doomed to failure. The message was brief: Council monitoring situation, human resistance exceeding all predicted models. Advise immediate withdrawal before situation deteriorates further. Coral deleted the message after committing it to memory. He had compiled extensive reports on human adaptive capabilities, documenting how they learned from each encounter, how they modified Verax's technology for their own use, how they formed alliance networks that reassembled themselves when leaders were killed. Most concerning was their scientific progress. Human researchers had begun to understand Verax's technology at an alarming rate. What had taken other conquered species decades to comprehend, humans were mastering in months. When he presented these findings to Admiral Krant, the response was dismissal tinged with growing desperation. "They've lost major cities. Their governments are in ruins. They cannot win." "With respect, Admiral," Coral had replied, "they don't need to win. They merely need to ensure we lose." In orbit above Mars, a Verax supply depot went dark without warning. Security teams dispatched to investigate found the facility's Verax crew dead and critical components missing. The attack methodology matched no known resistance pattern. 2 days later, a Verax communications satellite exploded as a makeshift human spacecraft approached it. The craft appeared to be cobbled together from Verax parts and human technology, a hybrid that shouldn't have been possible with Earth's technological limitations. Admiral Krant demanded reinforcements from the Verax homeworld. The response from Emperor Draz was cold. Control the situation with resources assigned. Failure reflects poor command, not insufficient forces. Meanwhile, below the surface of the conflict, something unprecedented was happening. Dr. Thompson's team, working with salvaged Verax propulsion systems, had achieved a breakthrough. In a hidden facility beneath the Antarctic ice, the first human-made spacecraft incorporating alien technology neared completion. Built inside a massive cavern excavated before the invasion as a climate research station, the vessel represented humanity's first step beyond their besieged world. Commander Miller walked the length of the ship, marveling at what human determination had accomplished. "Will it fly?" he asked Thompson, who was calibrating the navigation systems. "Better than fly," she replied without looking up. "According to my calculations, it should be capable of faster-than-light travel." Miller stared at her. "That's impossible. We can't have mastered that technology so quickly." Thompson finally turned to him, exhaustion and excitement battling in her expression. "The Verax made a critical error, Commander. They thought destroying our cities would break us. Instead, they just made sure every surviving scientist, engineer, and problem solver on Earth had exactly one problem to focus on." She gestured toward the ship. "We're calling it Vengeance, first of many." Miller understood the implications. The tide wasn't just turning on Earth. Humanity was preparing to take the fight to the stars. The hunt was about to begin in earnest. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter had once been home to 3 Verax mining stations. Now it held only debris. Admiral Krant reviewed the footage again, mandibles clicking in agitation. The attack had been precise and devastating. "How many ships?" he demanded. "7, Admiral," the tactical officer replied. "Smaller than our cruisers but faster. They appeared from behind the larger asteroids, disabled our communications first, then targeted life support systems." Krant's armored exoskeleton creaked as he leaned forward. "And the mining crews?" "No survivors, Admiral. The humans took everything useful, equipment, materials, and all data storage units." 1 year had passed since the initial invasion of Earth. What should have been recorded as a glorious conquest for the Verax Imperium had instead become a military disaster that threatened Krant's career and life. Emperor Draz had stopped responding to his status reports, an ominous sign. Coral approached, carrying a data tablet. "Admiral, we've analyzed the ship designs used in the asteroid belt attack." The display showed vessels that were clearly hybrid constructions. Verax technology merged with human engineering in ways that shouldn't have been possible. "How are they progressing so quickly?" Krant hissed. "They've reverse-engineered our technology and adapted it to their needs," Coral explained. "But they're not simply copying. They're innovating, finding applications we never considered." The Admiral turned away, unwilling to accept the implications. "They're still contained within this solar system. We control the hyperspace routes. They cannot threaten the broader Imperium." Coral hesitated before speaking. "There's something else, Admiral. Long-range sensors detected an energy signature consistent with a hyperspace window opening near the edge of this system 3 days ago." Krant froze. "Impossible. They cannot have mastered hyperspace technology so quickly." "The evidence suggests otherwise," Coral said quietly. "I believe they've left their solar system." The bridge of the Vengeance hummed with activity as Commander Miller studied the star chart. What had once been theoretical knowledge, the positions of nearby star systems, was now a navigational reality. Humanity had reached the stars, but not as peaceful explorers. They had emerged as hunters. "System scan complete," announced Lisa Chen from the tactical station. No Verax signatures detected. Miller nodded. Take us out of hyperspace, standard approach to the third planet. The Vengeance was the first of Earth's star vessels, but no longer the only one. Back home, Dr. Thompson supervised the construction of 20 more ships, each incorporating improvements based on data sent back by Miller's crew. The vessel dropped out of hyperspace, its hybrid engines glowing with blue energy. Ahead lay an inhabited world that, according to stolen Verax records, served as a minor supply depot for the Imperium. Life signs, Miller asked. Multiple species, reported the science officer, Dr. Rivera. Consistent with the trading post described in the Verax database, there's a small Verax military presence, maybe 30 individuals. Miller considered their options. Earth's government in exile, operating from hidden bunkers, had been clear. Establish contact with other species who might oppose the Verax. But they were also authorized to strike Verax targets of opportunity. Take us into orbit, he decided, and prepare a transmission in standard Galactic Council format. In the Galactic Council chambers, Elder MCK watched the emergency session with grim satisfaction. The massive display showed footage of human ships attacking Verax outposts across 3 star systems. As we predicted, he told the assembled representatives, the humans have not only survived the Verax invasion, but have now taken the conflict beyond their home system. High Counselor V's expression was somber. We warned the Verax Imperium. The non-interference protocols exist for a reason. A representative from a system near Verax space rose. The humans have contacted us directly. They seek no conflict with non-Verax species. They claim to be fighting only those who attacked their world. A limited vendetta. MCK nodded, consistent with their historical patterns. Another counselor, representing a mining collective, spoke up. The humans have offered to trade technology with non-Verax systems. They've developed hybrid systems that even our engineers find innovative. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The impossibility of what the humans had accomplished in just one standard year was difficult to process. Most species took decades to adapt alien technology. The humans had done it in months.